Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm Dana Nielsen from Skybox Audio. I'm here with Ethan Cohen, and we're going to be talking to you today about our product, Hammers and Waves. It's a 10-instrument keyboard bundle, and we're going to be walking you through it with Ethan Cohen here. Ethan, how are you today, man?
Good. Awesome to be here with you today.
Likewise.
Like you said, we're going to be walking through all 10 of these instruments and hitting as many of these super unique and inspiring features as we can. Before we dive in, I just wanted to ask you, Dana, as one of the conceptualizers, if you will, of this product, kind of what went into making such a unique product for musicians, for composers, for producers, that really does everything you want it to.
We really came at this as producers and composers ourselves and wanted to make some instruments that would be inspiring and useful in our own lines of work. And that meant coming up with, at first, really realistic, true to the instrument samples, factory defaults, if you will. And to do that, co-founders Danny Dunlap and Azrul Saleh came up with this robot that's really incredible. And that automates the process. So we have 16 layers of velocity that are based on each instrument's capabilities. So the robot and the scripting involved figures out the softest notes that can be played, the loudest notes that can be played on each key. So you really get this hyper-realistic representation of each instrument, which makes it a lot of fun to play because you get such realistic feedback. So that was really key in the making of these instruments, was developing sounds that are true to the instrument and fun to play as they are, but then also by way of this incredible user interface, being able to tweak those factory default sounds into completely otherworldly sounds that are really fun and creative to use as a composer and producer. And yeah, so I think we developed something that in the interface looks very appealing and simple, but once you start clicking on the knobs and going deeper into the pages and messing around, you can find some really inspiring sounds. So yeah, why don't we take a look at like the Grand or something like that. We'll show you the what it looks like.
Right, yeah. So yeah, why don't we jump in? So this is the Grand, the default patch, and I'm just going to play a little bit on what comes stock with the sound, what the robot sampled on its own. So
yeah, man.
Woo. Sorry, my pedal.
That's rich.
Should have taped my pedal down. Okay.
I love it. Man, you're such a great player. Yeah, this is so cool. I'm really thrilled that you're here playing on these instruments, and it's fun to hear these. Yeah, so the main page here, we've got this beautiful piano and just a couple of buttons. So right away, I can see you've pulled up your Modern Grand and just default preset firing away, sounding beautiful. And most of those keys in there, if you click into this source section, as you see across the bottom, we've got modulation, swarm, source, fractals, space, and we'll get into all of those things. And I can't wait to talk to you about how you use each of these things here. But yeah, tell us a little bit about source. This knob in the beginning, we've got, it looks like if you hover over it and move it around, it's a, it says pitch bend on. What are we moving in here?
Sure. So that source button, so you can click on the source, the words at the bottom, and that'll bring you into the menu. But the actual knob itself is just the volume for this main, I guess you would call it just the natural sound of this library, what the piano really sounds like. So that's just essentially a volume knob.
Yeah, and all of these kind of act as volume knobs, don't they, up on front here? Cool. So yeah, once we kind of go through each of these bits, like space is sort of your environment, whether it's a reverb or a delay or something like that. Fractals we'll get to. You can always click back to this front main page and basically have a snazzy little mixer here.
Yep.
Right. Very cool.
Yeah.
And as you can see, if we click below on the name, we not only get a mix level and dB readout, but we can also click on that and get into here. And here this, I imagine, is something that you, like me and anybody else in keyboard land, will gravitate toward this sort of velocity scale.
Oh, yeah.
So I know for me, my keyboard, I don't have a weighted keyboard right here in my studio, and but for others, they're used to playing a certain type of action, and this is right away where you can go to set the kind of the response, the velocity curve to suit your controller.
Right. And even past that, I think it's a great way if you're trying to play, say, a passage of something that you want to be a little bit softer and you don't feel like you have the control, even if you do have a way. I mean, even as a keyboardist, sometimes I struggle to play those lighter velocities. If you want it to sound just really soft, you can pull this velocity curve all the way up and you'll be playing those lighter velocities. And I think it's a great technique to use for those softer performances.
Very cool. Also, devil's advocate, me as a bonehead producer, and when it comes to keyboards, I oftentimes will turn the velocity off. And little known tip, one of my favorite sounds for like pop styles is this default modern grand with velocity always at 127. It's if you're not doing, you know, if you don't have Ethan's touch and you just want to like bang out some power chords for a pop track that's going to sit nice in a mix, I love it. It's a little trick there. Well, you know, one thing that I think we should point out is this, maybe a little bit left, right, top, bottom, this close, far.
Oh yeah.
Each of these instruments, this might be close mics, far mics, or something like this. Right now, I think the default is all close, but we can, once you play what it sounds like, you know, kind of push that knob over to the far blend, and we'll see each of these instruments, you sort of get an A-B, you know, whether it's DI and amp or DI and speaker or close mics and far mics. I think for the grand, what we settled on is a close and far mic. Yeah. So you can quickly get a sound that you want.
Yeah, exactly. And I can even demonstrate that. So this close mic up here, I think it's great for, you know, going for that like jazzy, like something kind of close. And then you move that far, and this is a great application for, you know, the classical sound. That's really, honestly, as a keyboardist, I've had a hard time emulating a keyboard sitting, or a piano sitting well with an orchestra, because it just sounds so close. You don't get that distance. But if you just add a little space, get that far mic, and you can, I mean, like the... And that's the same patch that we were using before, just a slight alteration in the mic. I mean, that's crazy to me. It's wild that you can get that.
That's awesome. Yeah. Well, I mean, when you think of it, you know, you have one. Most of us don't have multiple grand pianos, like a jazz piano for close miking and a classical piano for. So it's good. That's great. I'm glad that. And proof is in the pudding. I hear you switch that, and you as a keyboard player, I'm like, damn, yeah, I love it. Yeah, I mean, that sounds appropriate.
That classic, like the classical hall piano sound. And
all right, so moving across to some of these other knobs here, we got color. A lot of this stuff is pretty self-explanatory that you've seen on other stuff. We can make it darker, make it brighter. Shift knob. This is actually one of my favorite things in the world. I want shift on every plugin. Yeah. So you get basically, here's our natural sound. As we move it higher, it's like it almost starts to sound like a harpsichord,
like a hammered dulcimer or something, like really bright
totally
and plucky.
And then down, we get into like, now I'm at like a underwater horror circus.
Some lo-fi, and I think it's a great
lo-fi. That's a better word for it. Can you demonstrate, like, you know, throw the shift knob around, because this is really one of the best features that you can apply across all the Hammers and Waves products.
And I think this is really applicable. I mean, I sometimes even use it almost as EQ because you're not just getting
Yeah.
the sound, the recorded sound shaped to fit your track better. It's actually changing the resonance of the notes you're playing. And the little that I know about the shift knob is that it's pretty much shifting the actual recordings up and down keys. So when you're shifting it down, it's shifting the lower notes higher, the high, whatever it's doing, it's giving it this sound that when at the extremes, right? Like when you're all the way down here, it sounds kind of eerie and strange, not strange in a cool way underwater, like you said, and then up here like a dulcimer. But when you're just a couple ticks up or down, that can really get it sitting in your track in such an interesting way. If you want it to be a little bit brighter, even, like that's perfect.
Yeah, no, it's true. I find that like when it's down low, you can really, for like scoring or something, you can really instantly get into, without even looking for presets, you can really get into some real inspiring places that make you play a little differently. And I'll agree with you there. Like even when I'm adding piano to a track that I'm mixing or producing, I do use the shift all the time in lieu of EQ because it tackles that as well. What does the shape do here? Oh yeah, this is the kind of envelope.
Yeah. It's the envelope before, and Swarm will get into a lot of enveloping shaping, but this is just a quick way of, you can do it by millisecond, or if you click on it, you can actually have it mapped to your tempo. So you can say, oh, that I want that attack to come in this case 1/16 triplet into me playing the note.
So cool.
It's really interesting.
Yeah, and users should know too, like as you mentioned, when you click on these words, it does stuff. So yeah, you can access these other menus, and you can kind of like temporarily disable as you're playing around. I think Octave moving along, pretty self-explanatory and super useful. Yeah, we talked about the velocity curve. You know, my favorite setting.
All the way up and, to 11.
All the way up. That's right. We talked a little bit about pre-strike, and this is more for after you've got your performance and you're able to take an existing performance and move it back a little bit so that you can utilize that what we call pre-strike, which will add the mechanical noise of the instrument that happens before the string. Strike, however, has its own submenu here where we're adding additional attack sounds to the attack of the instrument. Now we've got this whole subpage here. So we got like, tell me about leather, brooms and knives and leather. Yeah. What kind of YouTube is this?
Yeah, so it's pretty cool. So you've got those organic sounds, the knives, the leather, things that a lot of people are looking for in those more intimate recordings. We're used to the classic felt, but now we've got more choices.
Right, so you're talking about the material on the hammers themselves.
Exactly,
right.
But then there are some parts that aren't as traditional, like the 8-bit or the triangle, which are actually it's adding a triangle wave to the recording. So you've got a more like synthy attack, like just like,
let's hear that turn. Yeah, okay, yeah, you got it all the way up. That's great.
So if you that I've in a lot of the Hammers and Wave promos, you've got these ripping lines where you can hear that triangle wave or the 8-bit in there, like that.
Ooh. Right.
Just adds a really cool layer, and especially on the low end, if you're using this filter and you're playing these low notes, it's adding some deep lows to your performance. Which moving on to that next category after the strike, the sub, which is pretty cool. If you wanted to talk about that.
Yes, I love sub, and you mentioned the deep lows. Yeah, this will add a subharmonic. This is basically a booty knob. It just adds that low, awesome for when you're doing maybe a solo piano thing and you're adding all kinds of low frequencies way down low. Very, very helpful. Noise is kind of to me like strike, where you're adding an additional element to the sound. Yeah. Super fun. It's great that you don't have to leave Hammers and Waves to open up another, cassette deck or vinyl or, you know, type of thing. I think this just is a great way in your own presets and in the presets that are included to get a real thick vibe
and
right away, or as thick as you want it. You can adjust all this stuff.
And to kind of add on top of that, the gate option is actually pretty cool, because that's another thing. A lot of people, if they're in a noisy environment, they'll use that gate in recording. So you get that high end as the notes are being played. So you can have that on. You can change the attack or the release time for how long that gate is open, or you can turn it off and just have that underlying sound underneath it all. And I think this lends itself really well to that lo-fi vibe. If you've got the mod going, you've got your shift down, it's really like it's hitting that lo-fi vibe really well. Or even when you're pretty subtle with it, you can get those old like Bill Evans style recordings with just a little subtle tape, little subtle mod. And,
I mean, in theory, you could, if you really find one of these sounds that you like, you could have a separate track open with just this on. And I think that that's cool with the gate feature, because on a lot of libraries, you might have a cool baked in, you know, cassette tape sound that goes away when you stop playing. And sometimes that's exactly what you want. But when it's a really exposed part, I find it helpful to just leave that in. It's like it becomes part of the fabric of the piece you're working on. And so to have the gate on sometimes isn't what you want, because it's adding such a cool glue to the rest of your composition.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, that's all there is to the instrument, right? There's nothing...
That's it, I think.
Oh, wait.
So yeah, this section right here, labeled Realism, we've got pretty much a breakdown of the recordings that went on for this instrument. So and all the instruments have a Realism knob. So we've got the actual note, so we can just click the name and turn them off just to sort of isolate each. But you've got the note. But as you hear, as soon as you lift your finger off, the note's gone. So we've also got that release. So if we isolate that on its own, it's not triggered until your fingers come off. So it's that last little bit that adds that realistic finish. And if you bring it up, if you could add more detail to that note being finished. Right. You know, if
you can really customize.
Yeah. I mean, you've got the sympathetic resonances here, which I think is one of the features that really brings this library, this instrument to life. And you got hammer.
Also, like, hammer, pedal, damper. Like, I find that I'm glad to have this control, because there's sometimes when, you know, if you're doing a solo piano piece and it's really intimate and you want the pedal lifts and stuff like that. But there's other times when you're fitting it into an existing, you know, pop track or something. Maybe it's the end ring out, and I'm like, I hear the pedal that's super realistic, but that's the stuff I work hard as an engineer to like get rid of, you know, so boop, just turn that stuff off. It's super, super helpful.
Just for the option.
And I also have a lot of fun, in this realism area when you're trying to make something creative and you just like, you know, turn the note down and crank the resonance. And I think that we'll find as we go through some of the presets that there's where some of the magic can happen as well in creating your own unique sounds there.
Sure.
Do you want to flip over to like a Whirly or something like that? One of the electric
let's
pianos?
do it. I think these will...
We'll get into...
especially in this source tab, you'll notice at the top here, you've got, I mean, everything looks generally the same, but you've got, instead of the close far mic, you've got DI and amp. And actually in this specific instrument, you can click on that name and it'll bring you to another separate page. Of course, and it gives you some cool options. So, you know, on this main page, you've got DI. So if it's all the way to the left, you're listening to...
Like butter.
Yeah, so that's that DI sound.
That makes me happy.
But then, you flip it over to amp, and it sounds like you're at a live gig, to be honest. I mean, a well-recorded live gig. And as we dive into that page, I mean, it's almost overwhelming how many options you've got. You can use ribbon mics. You've got condensers, you've got vintage mics, and then you can change the cabinet. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, let me just chime in here as like the engineering. Like a lot of these plugins you see, you're pulling the actual mics and you're seeing all these mic placements. We kind of opted for a really clean, easy to use, easy to look at interface. But as you mentioned, like we had all the mics. We used all the mics. They're all in there. And but yeah, it's true. It really lends to a lot of unique sonic possibilities.
And I should correct myself. It's not overwhelming because the way it's presented is so aesthetic. It's aesthetically perfect. And I mean, the fact that you can only get to that page if you click this small menu down here, I mean, tons of presets. A lot of thought went into the presets, so you can find a perfect sound. But if you're kind of one of these geeky guys like Dana or I or Danny, this is where you can go down the rabbit hole and choose whatever. I mean, it's endless.
Also, if we're on the main page, we've got the DI amp type of blend, as you pointed out. But then when we go in here for the cabinet side too, we've got, you're choosing your mics. Oh, I should flip over so you can see my screen here. So yeah, once we're in this area, we can choose the mic that you want. And since we're in this little cabinet subsection, we can choose the cabinet and also the mic position of that mic. So there's a lot of flexibility in choosing your favorite cabinet and your favorite mic and where the mic was placed. And once you get this section the way you like it, then you can blend in some of that DI as well. So you can really craft. A lot of people will be like, I wish you could change the amplifier section. And again, it's sort of like, we kept it really clean so that if you want to just use a bass level, it's not overwhelming. But when you click around on any of this stuff, you're going to get a lot of extra options.
Yeah. Sure. So I'm going to dial this to the far position, so you get that real room sound, and I'll turn this to amp only so you can really get that isolated sound.
That's awesome. Which amp did you have that?
I have the open back 1x12. But yeah, I could actually. Why don't I scroll through at least one other one?
Now, and it looks like at the top there's little radio buttons. Can you dial in an amp or cabinet setting and then quickly bypass it without losing all the work you did tweaking?
Yeah, you can. Those little dots in the right corner of each one. It's sort of great for A/B tester, so you can really get that isolated sound of without being distracted by, say, the head or the cab.
Yeah, very cool. Yeah, can you play a random preset and maybe quickly, if we switch back here to, this is a key part for me, for anybody up here, this comes up as the default. If you just click on the name there, and we kind of looked at this a little before, you get this list of tons and tons and tons of presets. If you have preview on, you can even hear a little bit. Oh yeah, I'm cranked. Sorry guys. You can hear a built-in preview. So if you're not Ethan and you don't have your own Ethan on call, you can get a bit of what's going on. So yeah, there's so many cool presets. You can also turn the preview off. You don't want to hear that. And you can look up, kind of if you have a vibe in mind, want something patty and complex, and I want it dry, no, wet. Cool. So now we've got like a pared down list of something that might work. Oh, preview. Yeah. Very cool. How is this possible Like that makes me just want to write something.
It really does.
And I can't believe that's only from the natural recording of this whirly.
Yeah.
So how do you think that sound was made? We haven't talked about the fractals or the space. Maybe before we blow people's minds, let's just hit space real quick, because like amp, it's a concept that people are used to.
Sure.
What kind of sound do you have pulled up there? What can you show us about
I
the
just
space?
came to Azimuth Rising, and it's a pretty it's a pretty verby, spacey sound. But as you can see, this space tab, which also has a volume knob, it comes in two sections. So there's the delay and the reverb. So you have the sorry, go ahead.
You can drop down, if you don't want delay, you can grab a different style of different styles of delay.
Yeah, you got your tape delay. You can do slap delay, or I mean, you can emulate slap delay in any way you want. But something, in conversations with Danny, this is definitely a section that, us as producers and as engineers, we love great reverbs. We love great delays. And I think a lot of time and energy was spent in crafting these to be what people want.
Yeah, so show us what some of these spaces sound like.
Yeah, so if you can scroll through with these right and left arrows, or if you know exactly what you're looking for, which sometimes I don't. You have this whole list of what you can choose, and oftentimes I'm going for a medium size. I think that really applies well to a lot of situations. So medium hall sound. So yeah, between that and I mean that was just the default sound. I that's not running through the amp or anything like that. So if you did that plus a far mic'd cab, you can get some pretty spatial.
I mean, look
vibes.
at all these options. There's a lot of. Why don't you hook us up with like a shimmer hall? What's the last one on there sound like?
Shimmer hall. Let's give it. And you can change the size and stuff like that. So.
I love that. I mean, that's what's so fun about reverbs and processing in general and cool presets is that it inspires you to play differently. I love hearing how like you hear that reverb and now you're playing with the reverb, And that applies so well across this whole library. Sometimes I'm not usually a preset skimmer because I'm used to presets not really hitting what I need them to, and it's so odd. Like this is the library I go to be like, what? It's almost, I feel like this library chooses what I'm about to write because I'm like, here's the vibe, and now I have to because it sounds so good. Yeah, I'm with you. I get inspired like you saw a moment ago just by the preview audio on the presets. I get super into it. Well, as we're, I notice, as you can see across like the delay, the spring, and a lot of the other pages on the interface, there's all this talk about swarm and fractals. And you can see here, there's like sliders for, for example, and we're going to get into swarm and fractals here, but as a precursor, we could make this spring only, like right now we're applying it to, or your shimmer verb, we're applying it to the source. But as we'll see next, there are these other great engines in this interface, and you can apply the reverb to some or all or one or none of them, which is really cool. You could have a dry source and a sort of morphing, arpeggiating, let that have the reverb. Yeah. So tell us a bit about, take your pick there, swarm or fractals.
I mean, they're both amazing. I'm a synth guy, and so I'm going to have to go with swarm. Pretty much this, like source, is its own complete world. So we could turn the source off so you're not hearing any of that initial sound. And then we've got swarm, which it's pretty much a granular synthesizer, except unlike most granular synths where you have a clip, so you have a piece of audio and you bring it into that granular synth and it's chopping it, and whatever filters, whatever envelope you're doing, that's a volume envelope. That's the attack, decay, sustain, release is based on the volume of that sample. What they've done here is they've built a granular engine based on all 16 velocities. So when you have a slow decay and you hit that key hard, or it's a slow attack and you hit the key hard, like this, for instance, you're crossfading, you're working your way up through 1 through 16 if you're hitting it as hard as it goes. So not only is it getting louder in terms of opening up, but resonance wise it's opening up the sound, which is unheard of. I mean, that's insane.
Yeah, so it's not that one little sliver played over and over and over again. It's changing slivers.
Exactly.
Sort of. Yeah.
So yeah, in the grand scheme of things, this lets you create pads. I mean, that's what I use it for generally. I when I want.
Can you do that real quick? Like if you were tasked to, like, you've got, say, the default, patch.
Sure.
How would you turn that into a pad? Can we like play us a little bit of the plain source
of the plain source.
And then just so we have a reference again.
So
like here's factory default. And then,
factory default.
And you're telling me you could turn that into
a pad. Yeah, with the same sonic characteristics as that source, but with endless capabilities.
Using those source samples. Yeah. So how do you do that? We're just going to watch you do that for a second.
I mean, so a lot of times, and we'll get into this animation section, which is what really brings it to life, I think. And this section also exists in Fractals. But this intensity knob is essentially, it's kind of hard to explain. It's kind of the amount of little chops there are. So like in a granular synthesizer, I almost see it as like the speed of repetition of the grain. So the higher it is, it's almost like more sputtery, and the lower it is, the more sparse it is. So when you're trying to create those organic pads using that sound, and you still want it to keep those characteristics of that classic 200 AEP, you can throw this on there.
Now, I'm like, I got chills. So now, like, what if you have that? I see you have your source all the way down. Now, like, just with that alone, turn your source up and show us what it's like as a blended element to.
Yeah, so it,
sort of an augmented.
Yeah, it's like that hybrid sound.
Yeah.
And we haven't even got to the texture yet, so this a quick
And even below that, like show real quick the octave. So you could, if you wanted to have your little swarmy shimmers be an octave higher than the source or lower than the source or whatever.
Sure,
right?
yeah.
Is that what that?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I could keep this source on. This the source is going to be playing that initial root area position that you're playing in, and then the swarm is going to be playing now 2 octaves up. So it's like that sparkly, almost shimmery, like a pitch bendy reverb effect, except you're getting it straight from the swarm. Yeah. And then this is jumping around, but I'm immediately inspired by this sound, and I want to go to the space. I want to add some.
That's what I want.
Reverb.
Just take us there. Let's do it. And so, like, you could put reverb just on the swarmy.
Yeah.
Swarmy shimmers.
These are effectively sends. So you can turn off this source send, so your source is dry, and then your swarm can drown in some reverb. And I kind of want to go for something a little bigger. Maybe take some of that low and add a little pre-delay. And this was what, just a couple knob turns, and you've already got
couple clicks.
It's crazy. It's honestly amazing.
So
So
cool.
yeah, back into this swarm module here. You've got something that really makes this, it takes it one step further, which is this animation. And I'm sure
I see there's like a racquetball court in there. What's
I'm
this
sure
about?
it's hard to ignore this little racquetball court right in the center. And this is pretty much, you've got your color amount and your shift amount, which we're familiar with from earlier. You know, your shift is kind of that more lo-fi vibe. When you move it down, when you move it up, you're getting that brighter sound. And then you've got the color, which is just sort of like a broadband EQ swivel.
Yeah, tilt sort of thing.
But what we can do here is you can animate this essentially. So you'll see it as soon as I start playing. You'll see this little, it's like a little shadow of this ball. And you'll see it moving, and you can change the rate of that. And what that ball represents is sort of a modulator of your color and your shift. So say,
hey, do me a favor, go like super extreme on that. Let's see that shadow like
really move around,
go wide, so we can just so I can hear exactly what. Oh.
And it's a pendulum, so you could say I wanted more shift than I did want a color change. We could really make this like a sideways, like a really sharp oval, if you will.
Yeah. And could you do that to like your session tempo? Are there ways to lock it?
Yeah, absolutely. So you click this rate, and now instead of those millisecond changes, you've got tempo locked grid changes. So you can do quarter notes, you can do dotted eighths, really, really whatever. And it's awesome. And then from there, you can also move this ball around. So say you want generally a darker tone, but you want to be modulating in that area. You can move it down here.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's another great thing on its own, and a great way to really morph a sound over time. Say you want a really spacey, swarmy vibe, you can move it really slow, and then you can you know, up this texture, add the intensity, increase the release, slow down that attack, and before you know it, I mean, and that's even extreme. You can do multiple bars. I could do 4 bars.
And then show us, if you would, like maybe something that's fast and morphy, and put the source back on and maybe turn the swarm down, and show us how you can create, like right now we're in full swarm otherworldly mode, and I'm curious what it sounds like listening to you as a player, like what it would sound like to get a little closer to that default again, but with this otherworldly element behind it all. Yeah. If you were, say, playing, you know, I don't know, making something a little more
so
chordal, or like and
I'll move this octave down so it's a little more understandable. But yeah, something a little more chordal where you can you know, you really hear that pendulum effect. It's really something else.
It's crazy. And I love that all of that is somehow being done without some other sound source.
Without another sound source, without any, you know, this is all in the box. If I went to my channel strip where I put my inserts, there's nothing on it. It's just this. The fact that, and this is just the surface. We haven't even dived into the
what is
effects or anything.
The attack decay, the sort of the envelope controls, is that for the envelope of the Swarm engine itself?
Yeah. So that's within Swarm, and that's applying to kind of what I said before, the envelope of those velocity layers. So, you know, if you bring that attack all the way down and hit a velocity really hard, you've automatically jumped right into that top velocity. Whereas if you have that slope up, you're gonna hear it shift through. Exactly. And then, you know, it's a normal ADSR, just instead of volume envelope, it's a velocity. I mean, it's brand new. I don't even know what to call it. We should come up with a name or something.
Yeah. Swarm. Deep granular synthesis.
Wow, Dana, that was a perfect name for it. I give you all the credit.
Deep granulars, not me. Yeah, no, it's pretty wild, isn't it?
Yeah.
Why don't we see how some of these same things work on the Fractal side, and then maybe we can circle back and check out how we can incorporate some of those other modulation sources to any or all of these elements.
Yeah, so we can jump right into Fractals, which is, so your source is those main recorded sounds, your swarm is that deep granular synthesis engine, and then you've got Fractals, which is your arpeggiator, which everyone's used to seeing. I mean, if you haven't seen this, then you haven't opened enough arpeggiators. But then to add on to it, there are these features on the left that I haven't seen before. For one, right, as a keyboardist, as a creator, as a composer, the reflection is something that's really cool. So I guess we can start from this side. You've got your general, your rate of arpeggiation, and down here these are your steps. So if I went like this, you could hear kind of up and down. So it's going through the notes you're playing. If you're playing chords, it'll cycle through them. But on top of that, imagine there's a mirror on top of your piano, cutting it right down the middle, and it's reflecting across that octave point. So if you're arpeggiating upward, by like one like moving up, you're gonna get that reflection point moving down across the octave. So you're gonna get some interesting movement. If you've ever used an arpeggiator to sort of to fill in the space that you can't quite figure out in your head, this adds the best amount of space, the best space that you can to it. So I can show a little, and it comes turned on, so you can get to that right away. But say I'm playing this chord, you're getting this this G at the top moving down. Meanwhile, the E flat's moving up. It's that.
And you were just holding a static
chord? Yeah, that was just one chord.
That's crazy.
So that's
awesome.
pretty cool. And then you can dive a little bit more into that in this. You can select your amount of steps. So say you wanted to add or take away steps if you're doing different meters that don't lend themselves to 8 steps. But something that's really, really interesting, octave we've already seen, and the others, but the skip function. So this is something as a keyboardist I'm in love with, which is that I want to be able to be arpeggiating chords, but I want my bass to be stable. If you're not playing with a bassist, you know how important a bassist is. Shout out Danny.
This is one of my favorite. Yeah, you're right. Danny, amazing bassist, robot builder.
And if you don't have yourself a Danny around, you got to be able to hold that bass down. So right here, you can see I selected a skip of 2. So what that's doing is it's not recognizing these first 2 notes that I'm playing. So if I'm playing an octave, you don't hear them. And that's useful if I say have my source up. You hear those bass notes, but it's not arpeggiating those. You're not hearing anything. So say I play that, and then I play a chord on top. You're still getting...
It's not going to arpeggiate your low notes. That's one of my favorite things as well, and I'm amazed that I, to my knowledge, I haven't seen that before either, and it's such a helpful tool for arpeggiation to the bass notes, the left hand.
It's one of those things where I'm like, if I'm not going to be using any arpeggiators that don't have that function from now on, because I don't know how to. I'm so used to it. Yeah,
that's great. I love it. And then I see that you've got the XY up there as well, that you could apply some of the same animation.
Yeah, so it's doing the same thing as Swarm was, but sort of in a different context, because you're getting those different steps in this arpeggiator step sequencer type thing. You've got, you can click on the rate and you can lock it to your tempo. But then when you add these shift changes, it's almost like an incremental, instead of like you can hear those subdivisions of that filter opening, the things moving. If I make it a little bit more pronounced, I can shift this down.
Yeah.
It just adds a life to it. And for Swarm, it added a modulation effect in Fractals, it's almost more humanistic. It's kind of funny how they juxtapose in a way.
So what else can we do with fractals? I remember there's like can you add like the hammer strike stuff, the different, like, how do we blend some of these elements?
Yeah, absolutely.
From other pages.
So we've got similar to the source, what's it called? Module. There it is. As like the source module, you've got your strike within fractals. So you can add, like I had before, 8-bit sounds or triangle or leather or whatever. You can have those as a part of the arpeggiated performance. So say I wanted, this will be something interesting. Say I wanted a clean source, but I wanted an arpeggiated sound that's a little brighter than what this offers, and I'm not, say I purposely didn't use the animator, because you can obviously get brightness out of that, but you can add this twinkle to it with the triangle.
Did you say a twinkle?
A twinkle, exactly.
A twinkle.
A triangle.
I prefer a twinkle.
Yeah. A triangle and a
triangle.
Well, both. It's a twinkly triangle, a twiangle, if you will.
That's my favorite.
So this is when it starts getting real synthy. I mean, you can obviously add felt and stuff to make it, add felt to your electric keyboard to do something experimental. It almost as a percussive way to drive your track.
Ooh, totally. Totally. One of the things I dig about, I mean, it sounds so beautiful. You can, like, if that, which one were you just on that was percussive?
It's the felt. So we got,
The felt, yeah. And you can, like, filter just, like, if you like that sound, but it's a little too, you want to do, like, a low pass on it or something like that. That's what that filter's for,
exactly.
right? Like, you could turn the volume up and get that sound, the felt sound, but not have all the high end
exactly.
on
If you feel like it's distracting in the performance, you can. So you still have that rhythmic push to it without having the bright tickies. So I think that's great. And I accidentally right-clicked, but that brings me to people like me and other composers that make a lot of use out of their fader controllers, or like you, I know you have your touch controller. Once I click something, I want to be able to have it right in front of me to be able to mess with it. And with any tab we've shown so far, you can right click it and you can do a learn MIDI CC. And immediately I'm moving my fader right here, my fader box. I'm controlling it right away. And now that is a dedicated fader. So if you want to do it quick, right off the bat, you can do it like that. But if you want to sort of be, if you're more into patching and certain things like that, there's this designated modulation router built in here. So you can say, what you want to be affecting this modulator. You can see what's already been assigned. So you can see here for my modulation over here, which we'll get into in a second, the mod wheel is controlling that. But say I wanted to use something else. Say I wanted to use CC11. I can have that right here, and now you see CC11 is already mapped. So you have that down here for your space and your mod. And then up here for our general levelers, if you will, the volume knobs for each of these three, the Fractals, Source, and Swarm, you can go right ahead and say, you can learn it, you can assign it to mod wheel. So let's say I wanted to assign the level of my source to my mod wheel, and say I'll turn off this one. So I can go up here, say I want my mod wheel to control this one. We can go up here and say I want CC11 to control. Not that one. So
you can really, to me, it looks like a really great place to set up how you want to perform.
Exactly.
Whether you're recording yourself or like maybe you're doing live looping or something, or I can imagine having some expression pedals set up where you might be taking a fast solo on a Rhodes sound or something, and then hit this big chord and just push the gas on that expression pedal, and all of a sudden you got all these
or just an
twinkly triangles.
And I'm sure as an engineer, you like to sort of balance things by ear. You don't want to be looking at a screen to figure out your balance. So that's another great way. Say say for DI and amp, say you want to really use your ears to figure that out, that balance, you could assign it to a controller. You could look completely away from your screen and just use your ears for it like a musician should.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Does this stuff map to anything like the complete control?
Yeah,
or anything?
absolutely. So it's NKS compatible. It maps to the complete controller, and you know, this is all usable through native instruments. Their foundational Kontakt, which everyone knows in the industry now.
Yeah.
So.
You know, I was noticing too that even within Machine, where like I'll, you know, be playing some of this stuff in chord mode, as I'm going through presets here in the NKS way, as I'm scrolling through presets, they're auto playing, which is really helpful. I love that, to be able to just scroll through and like, you know, hear a preview basically.
I mean,
so yeah, it really is baked into the NKS, you know, world, which is nice.
And all of this to sort of say less clicking, more playing, which is what every performer, every musician really wants to be doing. They want to be getting the sound that they envision without having to click 1,000 things. They can jump right to it with whatever controllers they're using.
Totally. Hey, will you show, you know, one thing we haven't looked at or talked about is the mod back on the main page, or many of these pages, how the modulation engine can make, you know, I love how all of this stuff can come back to the front page and you've got your faders, they're knobs, but it's basically you've got your source and your swarm and your fractals. And then on the outer wings, you've got space and modulation. And again, you can sort of quickly, without thinking about patch bay, you can send, you know, volume or pan or pitch or any number of things to any number of sources. What does that sound like?
Sure. So I jumped to the Relic because I think this is a perfect way to show this.
Yeah.
So something that I often do, and I'll jump in here and kind of, I already have things mapped a little bit, but I'll jump back to the default. So I really like going into shift and shifting it a little bit down. This Relic is a really interesting instrument.
Yeah.
Really gets interesting tones out of it. Really like old-fashioned, like
so much character.
That Bill Evans sound, and nothing tops this off better than the mod section over here. So this is where you can modulate your volume, your pan, and your pitch. So you can get those like what sounds. You know, that with the volume through any of, as you can see here, the source, the swarm.
Are you talking about like a Bill Evans dubstep?
Yes, exactly.
Because I'm in.
Skrillex.
I want to hear
Skrillex,
that.
Bill Evans. I hope.
It's he goes by Billex.
Yeah, Billex.
But let's hear it. How do you make a Billex record?
So right here you can affect your pan, your pitch, whatever. So since we have the source open, let's drag this source up, and you can change the rate of that. You can click this and make it by seconds. But I like going to tempo lock stuff. Just making it a little bit slower, and then you can affect how much of the sound is running into it, and then you can affect how much of the effect you're hearing after. So it's this multi-stage gain staging structure, but effect staging in a way. So I'm talking too much. Let me just play this thing.
Hit it, Billex.
So you can hear that warble, that in and out, that.
Yeah. Hey, do it real extreme for me, will you? I'm hearing you over. Ooh. Oh, hell yeah.
So that's the extreme, but and that's just with pitch. So another thing I'll do is add a little bit of this volume, Billex, if you will, and and it'll just move that sound like it's being recorded to vinyl, because you know vinyls, at least back in the day, were today not as much either, but we're never really flat. So the sound is kind of ebbing and flowing. It's got the pitch changes, but it's also got the volume changes. And I think,
also, well, some of this stuff too, like I get so excited. I see below the source, the swarm and fractals, I feel like a lot of this stuff too is really effective. And I know I asked you to turn it way up because I was having trouble hearing it over like the
interwebs,
Wi-Fi call, the interwebs. Yeah. But, if you apply that stuff, like I can imagine you playing that, piano sort of in a natural state or something like that, but then having the swarm or fractals being affected by volume or pitch or pan automation. So it's like, that's where I love that you can go full creative, like Billex on this stuff, or you can really, I think what's fun, because the source sounds are nice, that you can then like filter in some of this swarm or fractals stuff or this modulation that all of a sudden you would normally do, like, oh, I want to like layer this with some other instrument and, you know, find some other patch. And then I'm going to duplicate my MIDI and get this other texture going that, you know, it's so easy and fun and fast to just get all that stuff right at your fingertips, where like all of a sudden, based on the source samples, you've got this like extra synth pad thing that's morphing to tempo and swarming around you and has this, you know, vinyl warble effect.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, something that I'll often do too is, you know, we have this Billex sound right here, but we could throw swarm into the equation, and then we can, you know, this swarm, we can add animation to it, so it's morphing in its own world over here, but then you can also lock it to a different tempo. So you could do, you know, metric modulation, whatever crazy stuff you could get into. And so what I like to do is throw swarm into the pan. So you've got this pad moving in this sonic space around you while you're playing these chords.
Yeah. Ethan.
Yes.
So like, are there, I noticed there's delays and reverbs and stuff, and I love all that. What about like effects? I see a little effects thing.
Sure.
Are there other types of effects in this mofo?
Yeah. So if somehow by some stretch of your imagination, you're not able to achieve what you want out of what this offers, what this library offers so far, you've got your effects slots. So you've got 4 slots. They work in serial, so they're going to run through each other. That's why you'll see the bus compressor at the end to sort of make sure everything's meshed together.
Okay.
But you have all these drop downs. You've got EQ, filters, dynamic, saturation, more delays, more reverbs. And another thing you'll actually see a lot in the presets is this reverse. But I'll just, so dynamics, for instance, you can jump in here and you've got your classic compressor, but you can click this tab and you've got a bus compressor, you've got a limiter, a transient master. So you've got many more options than just that initial what you see, and then the controls really just bring it to that other level. So this is, you know, you can change the threshold. I might do that a little bit.
And right now we're affecting the source, but you can also throw effects on each from the top.
Exactly. So each individual, say you wanted your swarm to be reversed. So you can choose how many bars, the amount of time it takes to reverse. So I'm going to turn up the swarm here. You can hear it on its own.
Ooh!
So it's doing some funky stuff. So you can do that. You could run it through, through some distortion. They drive it pretty hard here. So you're like, and?
Yes.
So you got that gritty sound.
Woo! Now wait. I love that so much. What if I wanted the distortion before the reverse?
What?
Show me how to change the order.
Oh no. I don't know how. I know there's a way to do it.
Oh, I'll show you. Check it out. So like, that's just one thing that's kind of, whoops, wrong. That's just like one of these drop downs here, this swap effects right. There's no, like, you can't drag these things around, But like if you have a sequence of effects, and I do this all the time, like do I want my delay before the distortion or do I want my distortion before the delay? You know, and like if I want to hear either and play around, that's the way to push these around rather than a drag and drop. There's a swap effects right, and so you can kind of get there by way of that little nugget.
And I'm still learning things because there's the
me
depth
too.
of this. I mean, the depth of these libraries.
I've learned so much on this just talking with you, and I've been living with and using this plugin. I think that is kind of a testament to all plugins that are fun and deep. Is that even, you know, for my goodness, I've been using, you know, let's say Pro Tools for over 20 some years. I still learn stuff every day. We kind of find these things that get us to the sweet spot that we need. And I love that about learning. I love that about DAWs. I love that about plugins, because everybody kind of uses them in different ways. And I've seen you use this in ways that I haven't done before. And I just get so excited to try that out. Now, if only I had like the fingers and playability on the keyboard. But I find that even for me, I play a little keyboard, not like you, but with limited knowledge and or, you know, chord mode on my, you know, push or machine or, you know, anything like that, any type of, you can, it's like still you get that crazy instant inspiration and can play with all the knobs and get great sounds.
And something cool to bring up that I think is worth mentioning is like, I had this conversation with Danny about how, you know, he made all these tools to accomplish things in his workflow and his composing and production regimen that he thought was useful to him. But the coolest part about his role as one of the creators of this is to see how other people use it. That all these tools are great and they cover such a wide variety of needs, but then to be able to see how other people use it, it's like you'll never stop learning if you watch other people use it, because they're always neat tricks and ways that you'll never know how to use this that other people will. So it's really cool. Yeah,
totally. Will you play through some presets for a minute and just like, I'd love to I don't know, hear some of these sounds, any instrument, any part of the bundle, and just see where, you know, each of these takes you.
Yeah, I mean, I have not pre-constructed this.
Basically, I'm asking for a free concert. Just
and
take it away.
And you will get it free of charge.
I love it. Yeah.
Something a little more intimate there, but
beautiful.
We can do something a little more a bit cooler. It's something, I don't know. Also, this is one of those instances of the you can already tell that they're using a reverse in the effects for Swarm. There it is, reverse quarter triplet. So you can even jump into presets and turn something off, and then just jump back to what you're doing.
Right. I love that. I love that. Very cool.
It's almost got that like Hans Zimmer Superman vibe with the Lex Luthor.
Yeah. Awesome. Do you have the Rhodes handy?
Yeah, I do. I can jump into that. So here we go. Celestial Stab.
Spanky. Hey, give me a taste of that default real quick, so I can hear what the initial is on there.
And actually, something now that I'm jumping into this, there's always at least one feature that's mapped to the mod wheel automatically. So for the pianos, that's space. So you're going to get reverb as soon as you move your mod wheel. For the electric pianos, that's
awesome.
mod. So immediately we
Okay.
can start hearing what the creators of this library intended for us to mess with first, essentially.
Awesome.
So you can hear that pan mod across
yeah.
the stereo field, which is cool.
Ooh. I mean, this particular instrument that we sampled has just got such a great combination of that growl and the bell. Like, it's just like, it's got the dirt when you play hard, and it's just got a real,
it's got that soft,
pristine like bell. Yeah. Yeah, throw me some crazy presets.
Now. Okay, country lane. That's it.
It's like someday my country prince will come. That's awesome. Wild.
And then I'll end on "Don't Phase Me."
Please do. Fully Steely Dan vibes on that, which I love. So cool.
So cool.
Ethan, you're a bad mamma jamma. I'm keeping this content friendly for kids.
Bad mamma jamma. Well, you are equally as mammed and jammed. So,
why? Thank you. This has been so fun, and it's a real treat to hear you play and go through all this and discover stuff and teach me stuff. And
it's been a pleasure.
I hope we get to do it again soon.
It's been a pleasure doing this with someone who's been behind it, and it's just exciting to learn new things and talk to someone who's even more stoked about it than I am, and I'm pretty up there stoked on this. So.
I love it. It's just awesome to hear you making such cool music. And yeah, man, can't thank you enough.
Of course.
Super cool. Well, yeah, everybody, thank you for hanging with us. Please check it out. Let us know what you think. And we will see you soon on another video.
One last thing, if you guys wanted to check out any more of the presets or all of the presets, that's going to be linked down below, as well as a walkthrough of the default settings of all 10 instruments.
Fantastic. All right. See you soon.
Thanks, Dana.
Thanks, Ethan.